Welcome to the Empathy Empire podcast. My name is Kiran Roberts, and today I want to talk about the truth. I want to talk about not only embracing yourself, but the reality that the truth, when unspoken, will turn into poison if you don't express it. For those of you who know me, you've heard a bit about my life, and if you don't know me, you can read a bit about it in the book that I wrote for our company, Naked Billy. If you go to Instagram and Naked Billy, in the bio there's a book there, and it's free, and it's a 78-page book to help you find your passion, live your purpose, and find peace. And at the first chapter, I talk about my journey of being someone who really stifled the truth of who I was under the expectations and judgments of other people. And for a long time, I suffered under this lack of self-awareness and lack of really being who I am, expressing who I am, and it caused me to be just a crappy person. I was an angry, bitter person who hurt a lot of people in my life, and it was really me struggling and calling out for help because I didn't know who I was. And it was my fault. It started with me. At the end of the day, I got to where I was because I allowed the expectations and judgments of other people, whether they were positive or negative. I don't think these expectations were negative. I just think people saw something in me and wanted me to do it. But I allowed them to dictate and control my life. And when I allowed them to dictate and control my life, what happened was I stifled the truth of who I was. And when you do that long enough, many of you will know this, whether you have lived under the expectations of your parents or your friends or the status of your friends, you will know that you end up losing grip of who you are. And this was my journey. I really lost who I was. And when you lose who you are, you constantly find ways to feel better about that. Whether it's taking it out on other people, whether it's having a vice like using drugs or alcohol or sex as a way to make you feel better, or pornography. Whatever it is, you try to do stuff to make you feel better, but it never ever works because the truth that is unexpressed, who you are, if it is unexpressed, it will stay poison within you. All of that stuff is not an antidote to the poison. It will only be not poison if you express that truth. And when you think about it, it makes sense. It's the reason why therapy works. When you go to therapy, what you are doing is being in a space with a professional to speak that which is unspeakable. Whether it's a traumatic experience you had as a child, whether it was your parents abusing, whether it's a sexual encounter, whether it's something about you that you cannot tell anyone else, you are going into a space where the truth about who you are is expressed. And so no longer does the truth stay within you and have power, but you have the power to speak it and say it, and now you are in control. That's one of the biggest reasons why therapy works. You are taking back control, taking back power of the truth. The truth that is unexpressed will turn into poison. And I think in my journey of becoming self-aware, of hitting rock bottom and having to confront who I was, because it wasn't a matter of me trying to meet the expectations of other people, I just couldn't. I'd failed that much, I'd screwed up that much that I could only walk away and be my own self. And that whole experience not only helped me be the person I am today, where I don't care what you think of me, but it allowed me to identify and see that in other people. And I tell you what, I would say 8 out of 10 people on some level have a truth within them, whether it's an experience or it's who they are, that they aren't expressing, that they feel like they can't be themselves. And for many of them, I know many people who have that in terms of their sexuality. They feel like if they come out with a sexuality that's not mainstream, they will be judged and ridiculed. And so that truth stays within them, but they know themselves that it is hurting them to keep it inside of them more than it is to express it and face judgments. And anyone who has come out of their sexuality knows this. The freedom of coming out of the closet, the freedom of expressing the truth of who they are, was so relieving that it was worth the judgments in many cases. It was worth the snapback of people's opinions. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it was a sexual encounter that went bad. It's not that you are scared of the judgments of other people. This may be the judgments of yourself. You are now the person who is a victim of that in your mind. But I promise you, the expression of that truth will take away the control it has over your life. Not expressing that kind of truth brings you down to a deep place and a dark place because it has control of you. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, it will have control of you if you don't express and speak it. Jesus said the truth will set you free, and it's true. The truth will set you free when it is expressed. And so this podcast today, I just wanted to briefly talk about that, the reality that you need to speak whatever is inside of you. And for me, again, I didn't get a choice. I hit rock bottom. I failed enough that I had to be myself. But it was a good 2-3 years of climbing out of that place to accepting who I am and putting my worth in how love sees me, how God sees me, and moving through that space that really woke me up to the fact that this whole time the problem wasn't my anger. It never is. The problem wasn't my jealousy. The problem wasn't my bitterness. The problem wasn't my lack of direction. They were all consequences. They were all reactions to something deeper. And that deeper thing was me hiding who I was. And when you hide who you are, you create poor behavior, whether it's lying, whether it's anger, whether it's jealousy, whether it's sadness. And I still think I struggle with that. I struggle with being all those things, but to a much lesser degree. And now I know what the problem is. I know my problem isn't I'm an angry person. My problem is if I'm angry, it's because there's something inside of me that's not being expressed. I'm not communicating something to someone. I'm not expressing how I feel. I'm not letting who I am be known. I'm fearing some kind of judgment or expectation. There is always something deeper. This may seem boring to some of you. Some of you may not struggle with this at all, but for a lot of you, it is a real thing. If you want to find peace in your life, if you want to find purpose in your life, if you want to feel the freedom and the joy of being you, no matter what they say, no matter what people say, you need to confront your truth and speak it. And maybe that means going to counseling. Maybe that means going to a psychologist. Maybe that means speaking to a friend. Maybe that means going away for a few weeks and just being on your own to confront these things. Whatever it is, find your truth. Embrace your truth. Speak your truth. And that truth will turn from poison to potential, because now you can find out who you really are. I hope this has helped you. I hope this has really helped you. I'm going back to daily podcasts on the podcast. The video podcast will be continuing to go out once or twice a week. Thank you for journeying with me. I hope that you can have a good week, and I hope you can take some of these lessons and apply them in your life and then build empathy empires where you can help other people express their truths. God bless you. See you later.
Let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see.